All righty. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Alive with Chris Austin, Illuminating Humanity. I'm excited to be here another week with all of you. And in a moment, I'm going to introduce our guest, but not yet, because I'm excited to have this guest on here this evening. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait a couple minutes to make sure that people are hopping on that want to hop on. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to share this to a couple different pages that I know like to be a part of this broadcast each week. And again, the best way that you can support me is share this. Share this with your friends, share this with your family, share it on your page, because we have a phenomenal guest this evening that I am excited to bring to you. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce to you tonight to my guest. I am very excited because we have another international master transformational trainer on this evening. And I'd like to introduce you to Gerard Hauranieh to come on camera.
You almost nail it at the
first.
You almost nail it, but it's way better than before.
Yes, I am working on pronouncing his last name, and I have to spell it in my language way because it's the way I have to do it. So I'm excited to have you on tonight because not only are you an international and master trainer and phenomenal at your craft, but you're also a friend and colleague. So I'm excited to have you on here tonight and for people to really get to know you. So like the purpose of my show, for if you're tuning in for the first time and maybe you're a friend of Gerard's or on his social media pages, is that every week I love to bring somebody on that is, I believe, making a difference in the lives of people and humanity. And I like to talk about them and give them the spotlight for a little bit to talk about all the amazing things that they're doing in the world. So welcome to everyone that is on internationally here tonight, because Gerard hails from Mexico and I know has lots of Spanish speaking friends. So if you're on here, welcome to all of you and all over the world, really, because he works all over the world. So there might be people from everywhere tonight. So welcome if you're the first time tuning in. So Gerard, let's talk a little bit. So what does it mean to be like a master trainer in the work of transformation, and what is exactly what you do?
Let's say that I am up to every day to create a world that works for everyone. That's like my personal mission. And I found in the world of transformation, in the trainings and in courses and in coaching, like the greatest platform to use what I believe would be like my biggest talent, my God-given gift, to use it and to serve people, So I found this platform, and basically what I do is, for the past years, I've been going around the world delivering trainings that allows people or creates a space where people can find a practical and useful way to rise their consciousness, to elevate their awareness. And by being aware of what they can be aware, they can start creating whatever they're up to. So I'm out there to support people on achieving their goals, achieving their dreams. I believe that's the way that the world could work for everyone, if everybody's living the life that they believe it's worth to be living. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah. Now let me ask you this. So you travel to all different countries, all different languages, all different cultures. Do you find any common themes amongst what people want, or maybe even what some of their biggest fears are globally?
So here's the funny thing. Your question is if I found any common things. Let me tell you that I haven't found any different things that we human beings want. That's the interesting part. no matter where I go, no matter where I'm training, I've realized that besides our own cultural drift, besides our own particular needs from country to country, I've realized that we human beings are hurt by the same things, and we feel the same way. And basically, wherever I've been, people wants the same thing. People want to be happy and make others happy and achieve their dreams. Like we're not so different, Chris. You know, maybe we could be very different on the outside, but on the inside, and I'm not talking about biologically,
Right.
but on the inside, we're practically the same. We want the same things. The same things hurt us. The same things makes us happy. The same things brings joy into our lives. So we're not that different. That's what I've noticed.
So what do you think it is? Because out there, right, in everyday day world, as I call it, people tend to think the opposite, right? They
Yes.
tend to think that I am me and they are them, and that we're completely separate. What do you think it's going to take to have people start to get what you've already experienced? Like, what do you think it's going to take to shift that in our world and our communities every day?
Well, sadly, it might take something that like what we're living right now. You know,
Okay.
this big slap on the face with this COVID stuff that's telling you, hey, you're not that different and you are not separate. This is very important because the story of separation, the story about separation that somebody one day created, and we all kind of believe it at a certain point. Like you said, you're there, I'm here, you're this, I'm that, we're different. Maybe that was a story that worked for certain interests, particular interests. And that story was told over and over and over again, that it created a context where all the content in it kind of showed us that we were separated, right?
Mhm.
And I remember when this COVID thing started, you know, and we've heard about something happening in China, November, December 2019.
Sure.
And people were like, well, it's in China. It's pretty far. It's not gonna happen. Nothing else gonna happen. It's gonna be controlled, and don't worry. And fast forward a year after, we're all immersed in that. Why? Because we're not separated. What affects one affects us all, you know?
Mhm.
So sadly, something like this came to show us that. But the funny thing is, like, we human beings are so attached to our stories, so attached to our narrative, so attached to our righteousness, that even inside this, even immersed in this, there's still people believing that we are separated,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, people. What I would say is that they are asleep, like you and I were asleep once.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? I'm not illuminated, and I haven't been always with this, let's say, level of awareness, level of consciousness.
Mhm.
And I just believe that in the narrative that those people live right now, that's what they found their best choice. You see what I'm saying? So our work has to do with waking up those people and showing them that there's another way that the game can be played. Because at the end, they are playing it the only way they know how to play it. And in that only way, they're doing their best.
Sure. Because, and that's the way that they know.
Yeah.
That's the way that they know until something or someone or an experience comes along that has it wake them up to shift into possibly a new thought process, right? That allows them to let go of their current or old
Yes.
thought process. And in this work, we really start to have people live in the now, right? Like
Yes.
live in the now and in this moment, because so many times we're bringing stuff that happened from our past into the now and living as if it's happening right now.
Yes.
You know? And I think, like you said, it's such a great example of that we are all connected, and you can pay attention to it or not. And you can still think, like you said, that there is no connection, but for sure, people's lives and, have been highly affected and impacted by it. So through the trainings that you do and through the programs, because you also are the founder of the TNT program.
Yes.
So what is that about, and how does that support people?
So TNT stands for Today and Tomorrow program. And it was a training, coaching, and consulting company that I founded in Mexico around 2011. And it's dedicated mostly to deliver the trainings that many people know that we've been delivering all around the world since the 70s. So after I went into my trainings, I started preparing myself as a trainer. And after a couple of years of preparing, studying, and becoming a trainer, then I found a lot of stuff. I had, let's say that I had some offers from centers in Mexico to work with them. But I wasn't feeling comfortable with certain things that even as let's say transformational centers, they were so attached to. And I thought that instead of trying to convince them otherwise, I could do my own stuff. So I built up a model for the trainings, and we called it the TNT program, the Today and Tomorrow program, which is basically building up what we call tomorrow in a daily basis. Let's worry for the today, and if you worry for the today, the tomorrow will come. But we don't dwell too much on the past. The past is the past, it's gone. We can learn from it, but there's nothing we can do to change it.
Yeah,
and many people yeah, and many people spend a lot of energy and dwell a lot of time trying to change the past, and it doesn't work because there's no way we could do that,
right?
At least not until now, right?
Right.
Or not that you and I know about, right?
For sure.
So
well, and so many times, I mean, people that I know, even in my past, like even focusing on the past, right, and wanting to change things, that can actually cause disease and sickness,
yes,
all of that in our
yes,
body.
yes,
right? And it can create that, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, that can start to manifest all over our bodies and onto other people. And that's a
yes,
whole other conversation, right?
yes,
Vibrationally and onto to our kids and onto our significant others and the people that we interact with every day. So it's been a huge conversation, right? Like for the past year, like you said, of disease and sickness and everything along those lines. And like you said, you created something new to go with what you wanted to be see happening in this work and in transformation and all of that. So what would you say, like, there has been so in the work that we do, there's so many different centers, there's so many different programs, there's so many different this. And I've been hearing lately, that what we're up to is amazing in the work of transformation, personal development, all of that. But you've recently been in conversation that there's a sickness within the work. Is that correct?
Oh, our work is very sick.
So tell me more about that, because this is an interesting conversation.
It's like COVID hit it pretty hard. Let me tell you that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I've been thinking and writing about it on the past weeks, about how the work of transformation is pretty sick. Sick, I mean ill. Like there's an illness inside the world and the work of transformation. And like in any other world or context. So we could say that illness, I'm just gonna show you a possibility. We could say that any illness, any sickness, has to do with our body being out of integrity. Correct.
Mhm.
When our cells are not working in integrity, when our systems, our digestive system, our whatever, it's not working in integrity, then illness comes, right? Sickness comes.
Sure.
So I believe that for the past years, several years, our work is being, not the work per se, because there's nothing wrong with the work. The way we're delivering it, the way we're practicing it, it's out of integrity. And I've seen that, like, years before. I mean, I've been immersed in this work, in this world, 14 years. And I was aware on the beginning how people embrace the trainings and the work of transformation and everything. And for the past years, I've been feeling how more and more people are like rejecting it, like resisting it. And they have a valid point for doing that, because they are, many people know a lot of, let's say, graduates from the process. And this is something important. When we call people graduate, they don't really graduate, they don't get a grade, but it's a way of saying it. You see what
Right.
I'm saying?
A completion. Yeah.
Yeah, completion, exactly. They know a lot of people that completed the trainings that hasn't transformed their lives, and even more, they are a bigger mess, but now they have perfect excuses to keep that mess.
Sure.
And people who are delivering the trainings, so people are like, I don't believe if this really works. I mean, my brother took the trainings and he's a mess, my friend took the trainings and he's a bigger mess. And you see what I'm saying? And it's because at certain point we allowed the work, or not the work per se, as I say, but people delivering the work being out of integrity. So if you feel the field with all this lack of integrity, the context cannot sustain that. You see what I'm saying? So it gets sick. Like, you are not sick. You who you are not sick, but there's something sick inside you operating.
Right.
Same happens with the world of transformation. There's nothing wrong with transformation, but there's something happening inside the work of transformation that it's making it sick. And it's all about human beings. It's about people who found this as a good business and are doing it just for the sake of business. People that believe that this wasn't a professional stuff and thought that by learning and memorizing the trainings, they could be delivering trainings. But most of all, and you and I know about context and how to sustain a context. Most of all, the field is full of charlatans, of preachers, preaching the training, living out of context from it. So the context is sick. You see what I'm saying? So I believe that, and I'm going to say something very, very hard, but this is my belief. 90% of the trainers that are the so-called trainers that are delivering the trainings right now, 90% are operating their lives out of integrity. So they're just preaching and teaching classes that they're not really living up to. You see what I'm saying? So
what do you think is so if there's people watching that haven't done the trainings, right? Or you're currently enrolled, enrolled into the trainings, and you're currently a student, or you are a friend or family member watching this that haven't done the trainings, they might be sitting here going, well, then why would I do these trainings? What is the point of doing it? But I think it's important to what you're saying, because it's important to make sure that when you're doing this work, of transformation, when you're choosing the training center that you're choosing, that you do some research, right? That you do some
Yes.
research, or you know the people, or something, because there are a lot of things going on out there right now, especially with social media. You can just pop things up very easily and go online, call yourself a business, things like that. So it's also a way to make people aware that there is a distinct way, as far as a curriculum and the trainings and what's being created. And there are certain processes that people have to go through to be a trainer, in order to facilitate a certain
Like
way.
everything in life, like if you want to become a doctor, if you want to become a physician, there's a process that you must follow to become a physician. If you want to be a lawyer, there's a process you must follow in order to become a lawyer. The same thing happens with the trainer.
Right. So like what I hear you saying is that it's important to make sure, right, that you know what you're purchasing out there and what you're doing
Yes.
and what you're stepping into. And it's important for us as center owners and as trainers to really ground ourselves and continuing to develop ourselves, so that we're the very best for
Yes.
people out there. Because like Gerard said, we're human beings. So if you're looking for perfection, you're looking in the wrong way, right? So all of this work that we're talking about, of self-help books and personal development and all this mindfulness that is happening today, it's amazing with what is happening out there. And the consciousness, I believe, is stepping into a new paradigm, right? Like out there in the world. And it's important that you make sure that number one, it's healthy for you, and number two, that we're all human beings having a human experience, right?
Mhm.
So those of you that are sitting here going, well, yeah, my brother did these trainings and I don't see a difference, or they went backwards. Well, that's because he might be being challenged with putting it all together, putting it
Mhm.
all together and actually functioning on a daily basis, like with it. And so that's why this work is like lifelong educational learning, because
And something important that people must understand is that the training is not a guarantee
Mhm.
for anything. When I hear people like, oh, you should be different, you took your trainings, you did your trainings, no, that person shouldn't be any different than how he is or how she is, because trainings are not a guarantee. Trainings are a possibility, are an option. It's like how many diets we know, keto and the moon diet and the
Intermittent
intermittent
fasting.
fasting. And you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Those are options.
Mhm.
So you could choose to follow them or not. They're out there. Same with the trainings. We can know the trainings. We could be students and graduates from the training and still choose not to use those tools, and it's fine. And it's not about the training, as you said. It's about us human beings. Like, we all know how to improve our immune system, right? But it's a choice. It's an option. You can still choose not to do it.
100%. Yeah, 100%. I can't tell you how many times people are like, oh, I know exactly what to do to lose weight. Oh, I know exactly what to do to bulk up, or I know exactly what to do to save the money that I want in my account, right? And they say, I know how to do it. However, they're not taking the actions in order to have that result be congruent with what they say
Yes.
that they're up to, which when we talk about integrity, that's what we're saying, to be congruent with what like you're up to and what you say. So like your thoughts, your like all of that, like being aligned to take action on it. Because like I guarantee you there's a lot of you watching right now that you're like, yep, I do a lot of talking, I do a lot of declaring. New Year's resolutions, hello, those last about 30 days if you're lucky.
Yes.
Right, like,
Well, you have to be very lucky for sustain them 30 days.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
because
yeah.
so here's one of my favorite phrases, and I even have it somewhere up there, and so I can take a look at it. Aristotle once said, and you've heard me say that, especially when I'm delivering the master's course, what you know what it is about. Aristotle used to say, we are what we practice, and we practice what we are. So you could preach a lot, you could say a lot, you could think a lot of stuff, but it's all about what you're practicing. We become our practices, and then our practices shape who we are. So incongruency and lack of integrity, I would say, comes when I'm practicing something outside what I say I want to achieve. There's nothing wrong with it, but there's no way to achieve what I want to achieve with the wrong practices. So if you want to be healthy, there are a certain set of practices to follow to be healthy, right?
Yeah, and if you want to be a guitar player, you don't go out and buy a saxophone.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to become a master guitar player by practicing sax.
Right. Not gonna
as simple as that. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
But then you start crying and complaining why no sax bands are hiring you. Why nobody is giving you the role of the sax player in a play. Well, because you don't play the sax, you don't practice the sax.
Right. Or kind of like you say, I play the guitar, and your guitar has been sitting in the corner collecting dust for years.
Yes.
And then they say, oh, can you play me a song? And you go, oh, no, I can't do that. Well, check in, because are you really a guitar player? Or do you have an idea that you'd love to be a guitar player, but you haven't put in the practices to actually learn the chords to play the guitar? It happens all the time. And we're not like putting you down if you don't do it, because gosh knows that I have a bunch of stuff that I'd like to do someday, but I haven't been committed to it yet. And that's like where we really go in the work of transformation. Is it's a good idea. However, I'm not taking steps, for different things. But I have an awareness of that now, to where I'm like, oh, I guess I'm not committed to that, and I consciously make choices on what I'm committed to and what I'm not. Even if, and then here's the beauty of that all, even if people have their judgments of assessment on it, it's okay, because I can look at you and say, I'm not committed to that. Or I can look at you and say, absolutely, I'm having a challenge with that. I'd like that more than anything, and I'm working on that. There's a big difference there.
Like there's a big difference between being a trainer and delivering trainings.
Okay.
There's a big difference. Anyone can deliver a training. Not everyone lives as a trainer. There's a difference.
It's true. Like becoming a trainer, it is a process, and they tell you that you might be one, you might not, and you might
and you might not. And being a trainer has to do with being your practice, and practice what you're being. So if you're saying you're a trainer, then practice what a trainer practices.
Right.
That's where I wanted to get. You see what I'm saying? You cannot, you are what you practice. You're not practicing the life of a trainer. You're not a trainer. You're delivering a training. It's like a nutritionist. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's a huge difference between knowing what you should eat, that really living a healthy life, and then showing a way to people. Mm-hmm. There's like a huge difference there. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like everybody could tell you, oh, eat more vegetables, right? Mm-hmm. But I am not what I'm saying I am, because I'm not practicing it. So I could say, well, I know something about food, different that I am a nutritionist. I'm practicing it. I'm living it. Mm-hmm. So I believe that our work is filled with preachers, like many other realms in life.
Not only you could really take it any domain.
Of course. And this is important, but that's why I want to address it, because at certain point, people get mad because they believe that our work, our world should be like bulletproof to that. You see what I'm saying? It shouldn't be happening in this realm. Why not? It's still handled by humans.
Yeah. Well, and I say that all the time, even being a trainer, like everything that we do in the work of transformation is like, perfection isn't real.
No.
Right? Like perfection is not real. That, to me, perfection is actually like a disease, right? That we get, like, it's not healthy in my opinion to operate from perfection. However, to operate from excellence and wanting things to be in excellence, to me, that is a big distinction, you know? And so many times when people do this work, or if they work in personal development, leadership, transformation, or if you're watching anything, think of a teacher, think of like a health expert, like all of that stuff, like that, there's going to be times we're going to make mistakes too. Right? Like we're going to make mistakes, meaning like that personal trainer might eat a piece of cake.
Yeah,
That personal trainer
but
might eat a piece of cake, but he can coach you on that. And we're not saying that. We're
no.
not saying those little things. We're saying if you got a personal trainer and they're eating cookies and cake every day, and they're eating the sloppy joes and the pasta, and they're not working out, then that's a whole other conversation about being in integrity. So we want to make sure you're understanding that we're not saying you can't eat that cookie, or you can't have those little things.
No, like I'm not saying I don't make mistakes. You see what I'm saying? I'm just aware of my mistakes, and I acknowledge them as mistakes, and I move like I switch, and I know what to do next, and I don't dwell in my mistake, and also I work on not making the same one again and again, because now it's not a mistake, it's a choice. You see what I'm saying?
It's not an apology either.
No, it's not.
Then it becomes a habitual pattern.
This is the problem. This is the problem, that people listens to us and then become cynical. Oh, you say I can make mistakes. Well, yeah, I said that, but you know that wasn't a mistake. That was a choice. You see what I'm saying?
The beautiful thing about it, the people that are watching that like haven't done the trainings, or like, wow, what are they talking about? Or they're really going deep tonight on Chris's show, and having a conversation. We are, because this is something that Gerard is passionate about, and he stands for, and really wants to make sure that human beings are being in integrity. And that, like, even in the work of transformation, are being in integrity, and to operate like as that, because so many times, whether it's the work of transformation, whether it's in people's relationships, right, whether it's whatever, we operate out of integrity, or out of these broken agreements, and we just act, and then they become patterns. They become patterns, and we just think that it's okay, like, oh, I got away with that, or like, this served me, it's okay. But what it's really doing is that you can't fool your higher self, as we call it. Like, you can't fool the universe, God, Allah, source, whatever you want to call it. you can't do that. So eventually it's going to surface up, and it's going to catch up with you. So it's important, like, that we actually connect with what you're committed to, and check in with yourself on a daily basis of, am I in integrity? Am I having it happen? Do I have to clean anything up? Do I have to, in that case, do I need to like take more courses, get more experience, things like that.
I can make mistakes and still be in integrity.
Right.
Because we're not saying that if you make a mistake, you're out of integrity. That's not what we're saying. You see what I'm saying? Making mistakes is part of the learning process.
Sure.
So if you don't allow yourself to make mistakes, you're not allowing yourself to learn. And if you don't allow yourself to learn, you don't allow yourself to grow. So mistakes are part of growth. And as you were saying, we're not saying about being perfect. Perfection, I usually say that perfection is an illusion that only leads into frustration. That's perfection. And we're not saying that you must try to be perfect or find the perfect person for anything. No. What I'm saying is bring yourself, bring your own standards higher, so you can be working towards excellency. And because you raise your standards, you're not gonna allow into your space anything else but excellency in everything in your life. Okay, if you're gonna bring your car into to fix it, you want excellency. If you're gonna get surgery, I'm sure you want excellency in the surgeon, right? So demand excellency in your life. But in order to be aware of what excellency looks like or how it looks like, become it, practice it. Otherwise, how would you know it's excellent?
Yeah, you don't, unless you have an experience of it.
Yeah.
And it's important that, in my opinion, it's important that people access compassion as people are growing, as people are learning, as they're making mistakes, as they're failing, as like, this is a lifelong thing. I bet you anyone that's watching, whether you're 5 years old, 5 months old, or 105 years old, you are still learning lessons every single day of your life. And in the work that we do, we say we embrace those. We embrace those, like those failures, those mistakes, those breakdowns, whatever you may call it. We actually turn those into little golden nuggets of like lessons learned. So like Gerard is talking about, so that you actually do something about it and you don't keep repeating the same cycle over and over again, that you wake up and go, oh, there that is. I'm not going to do that again. I want to be in integrity with my word and with my life, and I'm going to reclaim that, and I'm going to step into it. And then the cool thing is you get people that are awake or conscious or find something that we're talking about intriguing, and then they have your back doing it, and standing for you. And then I always say you're going to find your vibe, your tribe, and you're going to find the right people to work with, no matter what you choose out there of trainers or transformation or personal trainer or coach or anything like that. You're going to choose who's good for you. And that's a beautiful thing, that there's a diversity.
Yes. And you know what, you said something very important, that people in our today's world really struggles to access compassion, really struggles to access forgiveness. And I believe it's because we don't really know what that means. You see what I'm saying? Like, we have like a collapsed idea of what compassion is and a collapsed idea of what forgiveness is. So, for example, some people don't allow themselves to connect or engage with compassion, because they believe that with compassion it's like justifying what other people did, or creating a space to allow them to keep doing what they did and hurt them. You catch the idea? And that's not compassion. Compassion can come from this place, and still I can have the choice of not going the same way. Meaning this, let's say I have, I'm just going to set an example, okay? Let's say I have a girlfriend that cheated on me, and this actually happened years ago when I first started as a trainer. That was like my first personal trial test as a trainer, and I found that she was cheating me for a year. We were 2 years together and she was cheating me for 1. She was also, but listen, she was also cheating the other guy, making him believe that she wasn't with me anymore.
Oh boy, double whammy.
Yeah. So, and listen, at that point, I was 30. She was 27. And the other guy was 60. And I mean, I'm not going to go deep into it, but I want you to understand what I'm saying.
Sure.
When it happened, okay, of course I felt betrayed. I felt bad. I felt frustrated. I felt mad, angry. And I found out a Tuesday night. And on Wednesday, I was starting a training. So no time to dwell on it. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And but then I realized, so here's how I access compassion. I understand that there's like scarcity pattern on herself. Okay. She created a narrative of herself and her life and the world. So in her narrative, that was her best option. It wasn't personal against me. It's what she does. You see what I'm saying? And in her narrative, in the way she sees the world, and the way she sees herself in the world, that's the best thing she could have done
In that moment.
at that moment, based on the information she has. She was daddy's girl, and her dad was killed in front of her when she was 4 years old. So she was always attracted by older men because she wanted to feel that daddy spot. You see what I'm saying? And I couldn't feel that because I wasn't that older than her. But at the same time, I was feeling some other spots on her life that she didn't want to lose. So on her narrative, that was her best option to keep everything covered in her life. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can totally see that from a compassionate way and understand that she didn't mean to harm me. She was trying to survive in her own narrative. Now, that doesn't mean that I would want to keep with her, stay with her, or that I will allow her to be my girlfriend again. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. From a compassionate point of way, I could totally understand where are you coming from when you're doing what you're doing. It doesn't mean that I accept it. It doesn't mean that I want it in my life. It doesn't mean that I'm going to open the door for you to be back in my life. But I totally see where you're coming from. Mm-hmm. You see, sometimes people ask me, and you should, maybe you've experienced this. So you're telling me that we can engage in compassion with people that rapes, or people that steals, or people, yes. If you understand that a rapist is also living in his own or her own narrative, and in that narrative, that's the only or best option they have, you can understand it. It doesn't mean you're okay with it. It doesn't mean you're going to take it or accept it. It doesn't mean, and this is important, from compassion, it doesn't mean that I believe that that person doesn't deserve a punishment. Of course, even from compassion, I understand that your actions have consequences and you should be punished, even from compassion. But I understand where you're coming from when you chose what you chose. You see what I'm saying? But sometimes we believe that being compassionate needs like to quit, to surrender in front of the other person's choices. You see what I'm saying? That's not what we're saying from compassion.
No, we're not saying it at all. And we actually say a lot of times, at least in my trainings, like we talk about compassion being love in action, like actually taking action to show others that you get it. You know, that you get like what Gerard is talking about. And we see this in everyday life. Like, I mean, take away politics and all of that stuff, like with death penalties and things like that, they exist. Now, some people are for them, some people aren't. That's a matter of opinion, and I'm not talking about that right now. But we have actually had tangible experiences with, at least here in the United States, of where things have been on the news, and they were given the death penalty, and then the family members of the person that was murdered or whatnot has said, no, I don't want that. I don't want them. I don't want them. They have a mother.
Yes,
They have a child.
yes.
And I don't want that. I think that, I want them to reflect. I want them to do this. I want this. And I don't want to take them away like they took my son or my child or something away from me. We've actually seen people do that in a court of law and say, no, I don't want to do unto others, right? Like the way that
Mhm.
they did to me. So to me, that is compassion and act. Like
Yes,
that is compassion when they say, wait, just because that happened, I don't think somebody else's life should be taken. Now, some people might be like, go ahead, like he deserves it. And that's fine. Like that serves you in that moment. But to me, that is an example of compassion that I think that I don't know if everyone has that ability. That's a tough one, right? So that
yes.
ability to achieve, but it's something as serious as you're talking about that it would take a lot for somebody to get to that point to say that without having any regret about making that choice.
To rise your consciousness to a certain level where you can operate from there.
Mhm.
And you can only access to that kind of awareness or consciousness by your daily practices.
That's right. And that's
Like
and that's like
people,
what yeah, and
I
that's like being a master of your choices.
of course, I don't know if you've seen people that are all love with animals and with children, and they take care of elder people and blah blah blah. But they're driving, and somebody cuts them off, and daily practices,
Yes.
daily practices. And
Yeah,
listen,
we actually used to joke, like me and my family, like when
uh-huh.
I was little, like we go to, Catholic church on Sundays and we would leave and I can remember my dad saying, blows my mind. We sit in church for an hour, we pray, we do this, and then everyone's in the parking lot cutting each other off, beeping
Yes,
the horn, yelling at each
yes,
other. And he goes, and I can remember as a kid him going, huh. But I can
yes,
remember it, and to this day, I'm 41 years old, and I can remember that because I remember I was like, yeah, why is that? Like I really wanted to know. I'm like, because he brought that to my attention, and I was like, yeah, that is kind of messed up, you
yes,
know?
yes, exactly. So it's a daily practice. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying it's easy because it's not. What I'm saying is that it's possible. That's a different story. I know it's hard. I know it's not easy, but I know it's possible. But it's only possible by our daily practices.
Yep. Absolutely. And I think it's a great conversation. Great conversation we've had tonight. I mean, it's already time flies when you're talking deepness. So time flies. And but I do think it's an important conversation and for my viewers and stuff like that, it is a little bit deeper than we usually go, a little serious conversation. And I think it's a great introduction of how deep we can go with these conversations. The more along the signs of the seriousness of the work, because a lot of you see the light and fun aspect of where I come from in transformation and things like that, but you can really go down like we like to say, the rabbit hole. You can really go down this rabbit hole and really go back centuries, like that's how far back you can go. And so I love the fact that tonight you brought a deep conversation, you brought a serious side of transformation. And I really hope that it allowed people to reflect, on what am I sitting around and thinking about?
Yeah.
What am I sitting around in doing? And and wow, I'm just sitting around thinking about what the guy next store is driving. I'm sitting around wondering what I'm going to do on Tuesday, but to really start to think about the difference that can be made, in the world by just putting your thoughts in integrity, just putting the words that you speak in integrity. And one of the things that comes up for me on all this is I truly believe that if people allowed their thoughts and the words that come out of their mouth and the actions that follow all that to truly be in integrity, I believe that there would be peace. I
Of
believe that
course.
there would be love. And our culture, no, I don't know about your culture in Mexico, but I'm going to assert it's probably along the same lines. We love gossip. We love the tabloids. He said, she said, reality TV, like all of that. And what I'm finding, right? I had a huge lesson in this the last year personally, but like people just believe everything they see. They believe everything they hear, but they don't ever go to the person that the gossip is actually about and ask them themselves. And I
Yes.
don't understand that ever in my life, like why that is, but we call it chatty Cathy's around here. Right? Like people just
But
chat, chat, chat.
it's very simple, that answer. Why they don't go to the source, or why they don't go to the person to stop the gossip?
Yeah.
Exactly because of that, because that will stop the gossip, and they love to keep gossiping. So
And bring
I'm not
people on board with them.
exactly. That's why I'm not gonna ask you personally, because if I ask you, you will disarm, you will dismantle the gossip, and I want the gossip to stay alive so I can keep spreading it because I'm having fun.
Totally.
Because my life is so bored that
Right.
gossiping about your life is creating some excitement. So I'm not gonna
Yeah.
stop it.
Yeah. So like, it's great because you're reminding me and hopefully all of the viewers too, to stop and be up to something. Right? Like to
Yeah.
stop and be up to something and say, what is that commitment that I said I was going to do and I haven't done it, and I want to like recommit to that and be my word, and go for it and be around people that are going to support me in having that happen. And that could be a whole other thing Gerard and I can go into another day, is gossip and vibration with that and all that stuff. But yeah, so this is along the lines of the work we do. This is what we do when we get together. These are things we talk about. Like even just when we're sitting around, this is for real. This is what Gerard and I talk about, and you dive deep when we're on Zoom or hanging out on the phone or whatever. This is it.
Let me just, I know you're wrapping up, but there,
Yeah.
I want to leave you something to think about it. Like 2 weeks ago, a what I believe it's a very good friend of mine, okay, came to me and said, like, Gerard, listen, this person came to me and start telling me this and this and this about you, and this and this and this, and I know the person, and I know that she's been gossiping about me and about everyone like for the past 10 years, like for me it's like completely irrelevant. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I asked my friend, listen, I'm not interested in what she was saying about me. What really interests me is why she felt comfortable telling you these things about me.
Mm. That
And
there's a space for that.
yeah, and I'm like, you are one of my greatest friends, right? So why would somebody feel comfortable on talking bad about me with you? Like, for example, she would never come to me to speak bad about you because she knows that I will immediately stop her. Why would she feel comfortable telling you all this? You see what I'm saying? So sometimes we complain about gossip, but as you said, we're being the perfect space for gossip. You know what I'm saying? Like this person that every time knows everything about everybody's lives because of
Yeah.
gossip. They have nothing else to do in life.
Yeah, I wish I had that much time, but I don't because I'm up to other stuff. But I think it's a great conversation, and those of you that are watching, Maureen just said this is the most I've ever heard from Gerard, and thank you for sharing him. I'm digging his deep. I'm digging this deep dude, is what Maureen says. She watches me every week. She's amazing, and then Sharon is saying, and that's why people would believe it, right? Because they're gossiping too, right? Because like all of that stuff. But I mean, here's the thing, y'all. So I had a feeling y'all were gonna love Gerard. I had a feeling that you were gonna love what he was up to in the conversation, where it goes, And I know that you can catch him, right? So make sure that you follow. Where can they follow you, on Facebook, Instagram, or?
Yes, Instagram and Facebook under my name as it's written right here. Just look for it, Gerard Hauranieh, the way it's written like this, and they can follow me on Instagram and Facebook.
Yep, and I'll make sure I put his name in the comments as well, so you can see that, because he does live conversations like this all the time. Now, here's the thing: they're in Spanish, because that's his first language. They're in Spanish, and sometimes they're not. But he's also the founder of masterforum.net. You can look that up online as well. And I know I'm going to be jumping on and being a part of that. So there'll be
Yes.
more. There'll be more to come, and we'll have Gerard on again. You never know. Him and I have been talking about doing a little something. So you never know what's going to come your way, and we'll have him on as a guest again. But make sure you follow him on Instagram, Facebook. Check out masterforum.net. Stay in tune with that. If you're bilingual, awesome. If you're not, you might be able to understand him, and you might not. But he'll do certain things English.
There's a lot of people in English that follows me. I'm going to start doing more things in English. And before we leave, I want to say thank you to everybody that was watching us. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your time with us, and especially thank you, Chris, for having me. Thank you for the invitation, and thank you for your friendship.
Yes,
that's the most important thing.
Same here. And so again, we will see you all next week. I like to say same bat time, same bat channel, because I'm a big Batman fan. And I'll see you all next week. And thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of this discussion tonight, and staying on, because it wasn't an easy conversation, and y'all stayed on. I watched, y'all stayed on, and you were a part of it. So thank you. And I appreciate you, and have a terrific evening. Ciao.